afternoon, everybody. What is going on? I am Jeff Grant Media. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my DDB, my Disney Dad Bag. And right up top, just as always, the disclaimer, I did pay for this Gregory Nano 24 with my own money, and I actually bought it from Moose Jaw, not directly from Gregory, because I had some rewards points, so I basically knocked off that sales tax and got it for just about that $84.99 USD, which is the current price tag for the bag. Now, I have been through a lot of bags for my Disney Dad Bag. I've tested a bunch, I've looked at a bunch, I've looked at more than a bunch, I've looked at like everything I could possibly think of, but I did go through and physically test quite a few bags myself before I landed on the Nano 24. In fact, one of my main contender bags that I was gonna bring was the Gregory Nano 20, but after using it for a while, I decided it was just a tad too small. So the bag I was ultimately decided on, the bag I was going to bring, the bag I had packed and ready to go, was this bright pink Mystery Ranch Galagator. Now on paper, this bag is just a tad over 19 liters, but there's, in the Gregory Nano 20 is 20 liters, but there are a few contributing factors into the capacity of a bag. First, bad math. Secondly, the shape of the bag. And in this case, I'm gonna say it's more the shape of the bag as opposed to the bad math, because I believe the Nano 20 took the side compartments and the capacity of the front stretch pockets into that 20 liters, where this, the Galagator, is main compartment. Now, yes, this is actually a Mystery Ranch Galagator. I just simply put a loop field directly over the Mystery Ranch label. It is still on there. It is underneath this loop field. I sewed it directly on top, and that's because I wanted to put a little bit of personal flair on the bag, so I put this patch panel on here and stuck a patch on there. But as I said, 11th hour, quite literally days before we left, I finally pulled the trigger and ordered the Gregory Nano 24. This came out like a couple of months ago, like probably a month before the trip. So I've been looking at it and contemplating it, and I thought, no, I'm pretty settled on my Galagator. I'm gonna stick with the Galagator. It's hot pink. Hazel loves the color. She picked out the bag. She said I should use it. I've got it basically packed and ready to go. But then I decided I need to try the bag. So I pulled the trigger, and 2 days before we left, this bag came in the mail. So I switched everything that was loaded in the Galagator into the Nano 24, and I took it on the trip. Now, to be clear, this video is going to be about how I used this bag as my Disney Dad Bag. I will do a full comprehensive real user review where I'll use this as a day pack and everything, and I'll take all of my thoughts into consideration and do a full review. But right now, we're going to talk about how this handled in the parks for four and a half days in the parks, a day at Disney Springs, travel to and from, and let's just get into it by starting with a quick spec rundown. The Gregory Nano 24 comes in at $89.95 USD. This is a brand new pack, so this is the price point across the board, both from Gregory and all of the resellers, is $89.95. I have not found it any cheaper because, again, this bag's only been out for a couple of months now. The bag comes in Blaze Green, Obsidian Black, Techno Black, and last but not least, Icon Teal. The bag features a front stretch pocket, two side water bottle pockets, a front quick access pocket, the main body of the bag that includes an interior mesh zipper pocket for organization, a rear hydration compartment, an ice axe / trekking pole loop and attachment point, and a die cut back panel. Now, to start, for my travel to Disney, I had probably about 75% of what I was going to carry at the parks in the bag. I didn't have like rain gear, a few things like that were packed in the suitcases. I did have like my toiletry kit in here so I can remove that for security, just made it quicker and easier. When we got to the hotel, I basically swapped everything back and forth, put the rain gear in, took the sunglasses out, put the contacts in, put the sunglasses on my face. So I did kind of swap it out once we got to the hotel and got settled. And then I basically had my Disney loadout, which you can go ahead and see right here.
Okay, so we just got home, time to unpack. I'm going to do a quick rundown of what I had in my Disney backpack. I did have Hazel's water bottle in the front stretch pocket. I had one for me and one for Amy in each of the side water bottles or pockets. So also in the front pocket here, I kept always some of these antibacterial wipes. So they were in there when we needed them. A bandana. This was actually for my glasses because I was mostly wearing merino wool t-shirts and they smear and don't clean, so I needed something to clean my glasses. And then this is a rain fly. I was also stuffing anything in here that I needed to, including some leaves that Hazel put in here. So I was throwing wet rain jackets, Sven cups, everything that we kind of collected throughout the park throughout the day, that would also go in there. Now in the front pocket here, I have some crayons, some more crayons, my Huckberry Weekender sunglasses, tissues and some pencils. And I was also throwing, Hazel has a small battery powered fan, which is usually throwing right in here, so that was readily accessible. Then in the hydration port here, we have these are some stuff we got, extra Ziploc bags for things. I have 2 of these Night Eyes bags that I could put our cell phones, which I'm recording on right now, and the battery bank in there to keep them dry for rain. Didn't need them. And I also have a bunch of extra Ziploc bags. I have Hazel's character autograph book in here, and there's something at the bottom. Oh, a paintbrush and another pencil. So I got a lot of pencils and more plastic bags. I was also sticking, some of the characters gave cards about this size that didn't actually sign the book. They had cards, so I was throwing those in here as well throughout the day as we were gathering them. In the main body of the bag here, which is really hard to do with one hand, I have my toiletries that I had to take out. These I did not carry in the park, but that was a travel thing. This I also did not carry in the park. This is my charging my USB block that I had, like my phone and watch and all the chargers going that I also left in the hotel room. But I had 2 cooling towels. There should be another one in here. 2 cooling towels. I have magic bands that I was throwing in here when we weren't using them, but these are the magic bands and the chargers. Battery bank, cables for our phones. Rain jacket for me. I took it out already. I had Hazel's rain jacket in here. Also, I had some ponchos in here so I could throw it over the backpack. I had my pills, and there's more antibacterial wipes in here, but this is pills as well as ibuprofen, some Bayer, Tylenol, stuff like that's in there. More antibacterial wipes. Whole box of them. I did have a thing of wipes in here, but I took them out on the airplane. Those are in a bag someplace else. And then in this zipper pocket here, I was keeping my boo-boo kit and straws, because Disney either does not give you a straw or they have the paper straws that kind of disintegrate over time. And then I was also throwing everything else in here that I needed throughout the day, anything we collected. This thing was beyond capacity. I have some photos of all of the other stuff that was here, but the only thing that I honestly don't have in here right now are the water bottles and the big thing of wipes that is someplace because I needed them on the airplane. But that was my Disney Dad Bag basic loadout.
Okay, so that's what I carried, but let's see how I actually use the bag every day in the parks. Now, I obviously used the 2 water bottle pockets for water bottles. There were 3 of us, so me and my wife each had our own water bottle in the outside water bottle pockets. And then inside this main stretch pocket, which by the way was a complete godsend for Disney, I kept Hazel's water bottle in here all the time so she can grab it while we were in line. I didn't have to root through the inside of the bag. And this acted as like a stretch dump pocket. I had so much stuff in here, and in fact I still have some of these antibacterial wipes that we use to constantly clean our hands and everything with, and a rain fly that I was using are still inside the front stretch pocket. But I also had like a Sven drink cup in here. I can't even recall everything that was in here. Rain jackets got stuffed in here when we took them off. This front stretch pocket was stretched to the max, if not overstretched, and it did not fail. It did not let me down. There's no pulls, there's no tears in it. I definitely beat the hell out of this front pocket and used it a lot. Like probably far more than Gregory ever thought would be stuffed into that pocket. I stuffed it in that pocket and it kept on ticking. Like ridiculous souvenirs. Again, I had a Sven cup that was a crazy shape. Yeah, the head fell off at one point, so I put that inside the bag, but I had the body, which had a base, and it was like a jagged thing, and it fit in there, no problems, and it didn't pull the stretch at all. The stretch is still completely intact. You can't even tell that it had something completely awkward stuffed in here that was stretching it in directions that it should not go. And it held up amazing, and this was probably my most used part of the bag, this front stretch pocket. It got so much wear and tear that I'm completely surprised it survived the trip and it didn't just blow out on me. Next, the QA pocket. This was essentially my dump pocket for everything. The one thing I don't like about it is you can kind of see, here's the seams. It kind of makes this like kind of triangle pattern. So it did limit what I could fit in here. So when I was throwing my sunglass case in here for travel, and I did have my glasses case in here as well, just because at night when we were at the park and it was dark, I didn't need sunglasses anymore. I didn't want to lose them, so I stuck them inside the glasses case, inside the bag. So when I stuck them in the bag, I had to put them across the top of the pocket because it was the widest point. I could stick them vertical, which they kind of migrated and fell down, but I wish that this pocket wasn't a triangle and took more of this actual front space here. It would have just made it a little bit more utilitarian. I could have stuffed a few more things in here because I did throw some souvenirs and some stuff in here, and a lot of things just wouldn't fit just because of the shape of the bag. So when I had like my sunglass case in here, and Hazel had this pink fan that was probably about 4 inches or so, and maybe about 1.5 inches, 2 inches in diameter, it didn't quite fit in there with the glasses case. So I was then throwing something inside the main compartment of the bag, where I would have liked to have both of those things quick access out here, but it wasn't a deal breaker by any means. But it was just one of the few negatives I had with this bag was this QA pocket. I wish it was a little bit wider, took up all of the space as opposed to having this triangular shape here, and it kind of was a little bit restricting. But it was great to grab those tissues real quick, get the tissues in and out, and I still have a pencil in here that we got from one of our scavenger hunts. So it was quick and easy to get the stuff out of here that I needed. I just wish this was a little bit wider. It could even still retain this triangular shape, but if they just made the bottom come out a little bit more, you'd definitely be able to fit a little bit more in there. Because it's pretty deep. I mean, it's probably about 6 inches deep or so. So it goes down, but it's not too wide at the bottom. It's only about 3 inches wide at the bottom. So that's the only restricting part. But other than that, the pocket was great for quick access. Now, the main body of the bag. One thing I would like to point out is you can see the placement of the holder, the clip for the ice axe or trekking poles. It's right here, right next to the zipper seam. Now, this does become an issue because if you flip it over here, on the underside, you can see there's this thick piece of plastic that is the backing for the attachment point. And it kind of gets in the way of the zipper tray. So when the bag's a little bit loaded and there's a bit of a bulge here, when you're trying to zipper up or unzipper the bag, it sometimes gets caught here. Now, because the bag's empty, it's zipping no problem because it's loose, but when the bag is full, it's really hard to access the main compartment. Because personally, the way I always line up my zippers is I always line up my zippers on this side of the bag. So when I went to unzip the bag and it was loaded, it was just getting stuck. This was like a pinch point for the zipper because it's just a little bit bulky, and when it was loaded out, it would just kind of press in. So I would have to line up the zippers on the other side of the bag so I can access it. And generally, because this is a pinch point, when I unzip the bag, the zipper would kind of stop there, so I wouldn't really have that issue re-zipping because I would have this would act almost as my zipper stop, so I'd only get the bag open about there, which was fine because you could still pretty much access it. It's more like the Matador Beast because it has like that almost J shape. So it was still fully accessible. So keep that in mind that this could be a pinch point. So if you're gonna be using this as a day pack and plan to fully pack it out, you're gonna wanna orientate those zippers to the other side of the bag if you're like me and you keep them on the right side of the bag, you're gonna want them on the left. That way you can zipper it and access it no problem. But that was the main issue I had with the internal of the bag. Other than that, the inside of the bag is nice because it is a big compartment, but we have this mesh zipper pocket here that we did not have on the Nano 20. So this was great. In here, I would stick my first aid kit so I can access it. It was quick, it was easy. It wasn't taking up space in this quick access pocket up front. So I had my first aid kit here, and then I also brought a bunch of straws that I kept with me because Disney no longer uses plastic straws. They use paper straws, and some places don't give you straws at all. So I brought a bunch of silicone straws and I left them across the back here because Miss Hazel Fantastic loves to chew on straws, so the paper straws don't last us long enough. So I got the silicone straws for her to use, and they worked out really great. So if you have a child, small one, definitely bring some silicone straws with you in your bag to Disney. You will thank me later on. But this was a great compartment to keep them because the straws were pretty thin. I put them in here with my first aid kit, and then I can easily access everything. Zip it back up. They didn't fall into the main compartment of the bag. And again, it kept the QA pocket pretty empty for the other things that I needed because this was a little bit smaller than I wanted. It definitely helped to keep this clear. And having the first aid kit here, it was still readily accessible because I could just slide my hand down the back of the bag and get to anything I wanted. Now, the bag itself, it's just a hole. Other than that quick QA pocket, there's nothing else in here. And it's pretty bulky. I mean, this is a 24-liter pack, so you're getting quite a bit of room here, in addition to that front stretch pocket. Wow, that was a tongue twister for me right now. Front stretch pocket. So you're getting quite a bit of actual space to use here. And if you're not using this for a hiker, you can actually utilize the hydration port for quite a bit of things. So this is deep. This goes the whole length of the bag, and it does go right to the bottom. Here's the bottom. There's my finger. I'm at the bottom of the bag. There's no flotation. There is a clip in here for a water bladder, so your water doesn't slump to the bottom. But the way I utilize this, I have two of those waterproof Night Eyes bags and a bunch of Ziploc bags, and my daughter's autograph book. So I could put all of that stuff in the back here. So I had extra Ziploc bags that I would need if it poured and we wanted to put our phones or battery bank or anything in there. And then I kept the flat items, which would be the autograph book. And so you're aware, not every single character will sign an autograph book. Some of them just physically can't because of the costumes. One, Sully. Sully's a huge monster. If you see him in Hollywood Studios, he cannot sign. So some of the characters give you a card that has like their signature on it. They're flat, so they would go in the back here because they would lay flat and they wouldn't get crushed in the main body of the bag. So the hydration port actually worked out really, really well for me to put some of the flat, quick access items in the plastic bags that if I needed them, I can grab them quick. They weren't migrating to the bottom of the main body of the bag. They were right up here in the back. I can easily grab them, and because of the way the bag was packed out, the autograph book didn't really migrate all the way to the bottom of the hydration compartment, so it stayed mostly right up top, which was very convenient, especially when you saw a character that you didn't expect to see and you needed to grab it in a hurry. Now, one point about packing the bag out. The way I packed this bag out is I kind of like lined things up across the main body. I had like my wipes were on this side because that's where the zipper was. I lined my wipes vertical. So I stacked my wipes. I stacked my power bank because that was probably one of the next things I would grab very quickly. Now, these wipes themselves, these antibacterial wipes, I brought a ton of these, and they actually came in a box. So I just took the box, I actually carried the physical box, and I would stick the box next to it, and then I kind of had things stacked. I had the rain jackets folded flat against the back, but then all of the bulkier items I stacked vertically so it was easy to get. Now, the bag didn't stay nice and neatly packed like that throughout the course of the day. Of course, it became a mess the more I was in and out of the bag, but it was a good starting point, so I knew where everything was organized. So even after it kind of fell and slumped over, it was still kind of in that order inside the bag, so I could still quickly access and grab the things I wanted. Now, I did that for my own personal sanity, so I kind of knew where everything was in the bag if I needed it in a pinch. So, I mean, pack your bag how you want, but that's the way I organized this bag. Was I tried to stack, and for the most part, the beginning of the week, everything stayed, but as supplies dwindled and things got lighter, they would slump more and more. So towards the end of the week, it did become a jumbled mess in here, but at the beginning of the week, it was nicely neat stacked. And again, as they fell over, it still kind of stayed at least that order so I can grab it pretty quickly and easily. Now, one other point of note I want to make with this pack is this die cut back panel. For some reason, I felt like it was just a tad too wide up top here. Now, this didn't irritate my skin or actually irritate me mentally, really in any way, shape, or form, but when I was like stretching, because you're standing in line, and you're just trying to readjust your body because, you know, you've been carrying a 5-year-old on your shoulders for half the day, you can kind of feel it press against your back. It felt like it was a little bit too squared off. I wish that this was just maybe a little bit more tapered right up top here. Now again, as I wore it, this wasn't an issue. As I was just walking around, I wasn't feeling it. It was more when I was like trying to stretch and readjust and crack my back because I was stiff, that I would kind of just feel it kind of at the sides of my back. So wearing it all day long was completely comfortable. It was more when I was trying to readjust my body, I could feel it. So I think if it was just tapered a tiny bit more, it would still work totally fine, but I wouldn't feel it there. But not a deal breaker by any means, just something I would like to make you aware of in case you notice it a little bit more prominent than I did. You can definitely feel the top edge of the back panel just a little bit if you're trying to stretch or crack your back. But all in all, I loved this pack. The Gregory Nano 24 was an awesome Disney bag. This worked out really, really well for me. I think the size of the bag was perfect. The flexibility of the bag was great because I didn't want to bring like my GR1 or anything that was like Cordura because I didn't want it to be stiff and bulky. Even though we went in October, it was still warm. It was cool in the beginning of the week. It was like 65, 70, but then at the end of the week, it was like 90 degrees and pretty humid. Even October, it wasn't like as humid as in like July, but it was still pretty humid. So I didn't want something super heavy that I was just feeling like I was lugging a brick around on my back. So the materials of the bag, really, really great. It was light, it's flexible. I wanted a day pack because it had the features that I was really looking for, namely this front stretchy pocket here. And the materials made it light and easy to carry around all day long, especially in the heat. So the bag worked out really, really well for me. And I even had like Hazel's bag attached to the front of this bag. It was crazy. It was comfortable to wear the whole time. It handled everything I threw at it. I had stuff dangling off it for days and it didn't break down at all. It felt totally comfortable. Even at one point, again, it didn't irritate my skin in any way. It was just when I was stretching a little bit, I could feel it. So carrying this in the Florida heat for 4.5, 5 days, traveling to and from, I basically wore this in about 42-degree temperature up to about 90-degree temperature in the same trip. And it worked out great. It worked as a travel bag. It worked as my Disney dad bag. I will test this as a day pack in the woods. I will take it hiking. And all in all though, as my Disney dad bag, if you're on the hunt like I was, the Gregory Nano 24 is a great choice. We booked this trip almost 1.5 years in advance. So I had been looking for a Disney dad bag for almost 1.5 years. I did have this MR Galligator the entire time, which was one of my contenders the entire time, but it has these 2 straps for the front, so I had a way to attach things to the front of the bag, but I really, really wanted a stretch front mesh pocket to stuff. And I went through a bunch of bags, both testing out with my hands on them, looking at them. I looked at every bag I could possibly think of. I pulled Reddit, I pulled Facebook, I checked out every suggestion I was given. I had a couple contenders that I wanted to try that I didn't try because ultimately looking at them and thinking about them, they weren't what I wanted. So my 11th hour decision to buy the Gregory Nano 24, because again, I did test out the 20. The 20 I thought was a little bit too small. The 24 ended up being the perfect size. It had just about every feature I was looking for. I would change very few things about this bag, namely the QA pocket, and I would add a little bit of daisy chaining maybe to the side for a couple extra attachment points because I'd like to maybe attach a carabiner to the side instead of dangling from the bottom. And I had one up top too to clip my hat, or that's how I had Hazel's bag, was clipped by having it on the handle. So I would have liked to maybe had some daisy chaining on the side instead of the grab handle. But all in all, if you were in the same boat and going down the deep, deep, deep rabbit hole of looking for a Disney dad bag, the Gregory Nano 24 worked really, really well for me. I'm very, very impressed with its performance. And if I were to go back to Disney again next week, I don't plan to go back to Disney for a couple of years. It broke the bank, but that's not what this video is about. I would definitely take the Nano 24 with me again if I were to go next week. So this bag worked out great for me. So if you're looking for a Disney dad bag, my top recommendation is the Gregory Nano 24. So if you like this video or any of my other videos, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Smash that big red button and ring that bell right next to it so you get notifications next time I post a brand new video. Good night.